Yes. Do you guys know if there's like a time that we're supposed to start or if it's just like... Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started then. It's okay. So my presentation is on becoming a Salesforce or data-driven nonprofit. My name is Sarah Parisi. I'm a business analyst at the Ounce of Prevention Fund, which is a Chicago-based nonprofit. We have an office in Washington, D.C. that handles some of our more national things. We have offices in Springfield, and we also run a set of charter schools with the Buffett Foundation that are spread throughout the United States. Oops. So just a quick thank you to all of our sponsors. So a little bit about myself. I am a business analyst at the Ounce Prevention Fund. I'm going to post my slide on my LinkedIn, so if you want this data, you can go in and click our little video. It's fun, I guess. I'm formerly of a company called Patron Technology, which is a Salesforce vertical that kind of does arts and donation ticketing tracking for nonprofits. They're really great. They've taught me everything I know. Before I worked in Salesforce, I was a music teacher. I taught in preschool and high school, and I play trombone and tuba, just a fun fact. I really try to use Salesforce and kind of technology. I really do a lot of integrated solutions stuff as a facilitator of change in our organization. I think in a lot of nonprofits, we are dealing with either older workers or people who are very set in their ways. I deal with a lot of teachers who aren't super familiar with technology, and as we kind of push towards more of a internet-driven or a social media-driven kind of society, that we kind of need to help those people, and Salesforce is a good way to do that. I also love tiki bars and traveling. So just a little bit about the Ounce of Prevention Fund. Like I said, I really am more of like a integrated solutions manager. We use native Salesforce as kind of, we have some custom apps built out to do our professional development and track professional development we're doing with teachers and home visitors and doulas, and we do state consultations for districts and lobbyists and stuff like that. On top of that, we don't use Nonprofit Starter Pack, we use NGO Connect. If you have questions about that, talk to me. I have yeses and nos. I actually just implemented it this month. We use Cvent for all of our conference and network meetings, and that integrates into Salesforce as well. We use the Marketing Cloud, both the Social Studio and ExactTarget. We also use a grassroots product called CQRC Engage, which also integrates into Salesforce and gives us constituent data. And like calls to actions and engagements and stuff like that. And we also do a series of web trainings through Cornerstone On Demand, and all of that constituent data pushes into our Salesforce as well. So the first part of becoming a data-driven nonprofit is starting from a rubric. This is my teaching background. You want to define success, and you can't define success for your end users. They have to define it themselves. So why do I like to start with a rubric? One, because I'm a teacher. I used to make my preschoolers do rubrics with smiley faces about whether their songs were nice or not, so now I make my end users do it as part of their business practices. Some love it, some hate it. So I'm sure we've all had this before, but we have end users who come up with a solution for you, and a lot of times they're a lot more backwards and convoluted and crazy than they actually need to be. So by having them focus on what the end product is or what their success is, it allows you to define the solution and takes out all of those like middle grounds. It also asks a question that I think a lot of nonprofits have a problem with is, why do we collect data? They haven't got on board with this big data idea. So a lot of times it's feelings, it's who have we helped. It's not, in February, we reached out to X amount of home visitors, and those home visitors actually went and interacted with 100 families, and because of that 100 interactions, their children did this in their schools and stuff like that. It's more, well, this was nice, we did this, and we're helping people. Also, by putting it not on a notebook or in a Word document, it allows them to get an overall organization view of what's being collected. And I also like all users, so when I do this kind of rubric, I sit down with an entire department after I've sat down with their kind of senior management to get an idea of what every end user who's using this, so teachers, admins, what they feel like success is. Because a lot of times I find that for a manager, they need to know what they want to pass on to their funders, but someone who's actually doing the outreach and the collection of data, they don't think that's as important. So you want to get both of those. And this is one from when I was teaching, and people still feel this way, is like, if I define what success is, if I'm the manager, if I'm the end user, then I actually have to read it and I have to believe in it because I've decided it and I've said it myself. So in terms of when I talk to a manager what their ideas of, and when I talk to somebody like an admin or a home visitor, their ideas of success are often a lot different. Someone on the manager level is going to say, like, how is our division doing versus how quickly and efficiently am I doing my job on the individual user side. This is a lot of how much money are we bringing in, how much outreach are we doing, versus how quickly can I respond to someone's information about a grant that we're giving, or how can I run my acknowledgement letters with the click of a button versus having to type them all by hand. And a lot of things that it's good to get the individual users' input about is that the kind of big brother idea, when senior management is deciding every single bit of what's going into our system, they feel like they're being tracked, their progress is kind of like watching them to see how well they're doing, or sometimes I get things like, I feel like they're watching me because they want to fire me, or they don't think I'm doing well enough, versus this is for you to help grow your professional practice. So again, it helps with discrepancies. This is just like little visual. So for example, are funders happy with what we're doing? Like, they're gonna definitely expand funding, they're gonna give us more money. Or is this like, we're doing okay? Are we not showing impact in our community? And are we like totally just messing it up? So this is just like a kind of a little bit of an example. If you are familiar with teaching, I base a lot of my stuff on the Erickson rubric, which has like people are on board for it and people are not on board for it. But what are our different levels of success and how do we actually quantify that? So we're breaking out into little different groups. This is an example of one of our custom-built applications. It's called Technical Assistant that I built using this rubric. Pretty much all of our divisions at our organization use it. Our Educare schools use it to do principal, like how they're interacting with principals and teachers and what the outcome of that is. We have like our national consultants who work with school districts and lobbyists and stuff like that, document like changes based on that. So this is just the front page of it. I couldn't show you all of our data because it's we use a lot of research data, so it's sensitive. But like, for example, we have a title, delivery method, highlights and challenges. We've actually expanded this recently to include like, what was my lesson plan for this? I've created buttons so that like if someone inputs what their like their notes from their previous lesson, they click a button to create the new a new data source, and it pops in all that information for them so they don't have to go back and retype it. We use Conga a lot too. Here's another side of it that we're using. We're talking about standards that we're using and routines we're covering and what resources and stuff. So this is just an example of one of the things that was built from this. This is some data that we use and then we pass on. A lot of it has to do how much time are we talking about different subjects and topics. How much time, how many people are we leaving based on what we've talked about and what their role is and stuff like that. So first step is to start with a rubric. The second is to make success easier, and this is one of the most common complaints I get, especially from our development department, is there are too many clicks for me to do that. So the first part is getting our quantitative data so we can pass it on and know that we're successful and we're succeeding. The second part is how to get people to use Salesforce because it's a lot easier than what they were doing before. So there's major and there's minor problems. Major problems are a lot of times they're division goals. We're not reaching enough people. We haven't brought in enough money this quarter. These things often end in either integrating a new product or building out a custom application. Some examples are listed here. The more minor problems are things that are like little road bumps that help people log into the system and be more interested in doing it. This is like workflows and validation rules and process builder, and again, Conga, not to plug it again, we use that a ton, just to kind of like get it going. So here's two examples. Their names have been changed, but these are real people. They work in our development department. Tim is the head of annual giving. I would call him one of my like anti-change agents. He is feisty as all get go. And he loves Razor's Edge. Don't know why. Part of the reason he loves Razor's Edge is because he was the main knowledge holder. And before me, he handled custom fields, adding things, reporting. Our data's a mess because of it, but he doesn't want to use Salesforce at all. He thinks it's too complicated. Every time you propose something to him, he's not interested. And then Mary, who would be probably about my age, hates Razor's Edge, understandably, and she's really excited about the functionality of including exact target and into our Salesforce, but she's really worried about the data implementation, which if you've ever done Razor's Edge to something else, that can be, I drank a lot. So here are some things that I did to make Tim and Mary's life easier. First of all, Tim has to think every idea is his. So that's a solution I do with a lot of people, is like kind of hoodwinking them and thinking they came up with it. I treat him like I would a preschooler, and it works really well. I have created and scheduled reports, which he loves. So instead of every night having to email our CEO and our head of development, the scheduled report goes out and he never has to deal with this. And this is like how much income we have, how many pledges are paid off, how many new donors we have. And just like as a background, we're really a major donor based organization. We don't do like a lot of small constituent donations. He loves the NGO Connect Visual Force pages. So are there any NGO Connect users out here? Basically, they take donations and say how many have come in. Here's how many have come in January. They're pretty. He loves them. He loves badges. I make them fun and rainbow colored, and he can't get enough of them because he thinks that like the people that report to him, he thinks he doesn't trust them, and so having a badge that says this is a pledge versus this is a regular gift just like really gets him super excited. He loves validation rules, again, because he's a control freak. I hope he's not watching this. Another thing we did was we did the automation of tasks related to grants. So like when you create a new grant, it automatically, using Process Builder, automatically creates the follow-up, the tasks and activities, like reach out to finance to get the financial information, reach out to the program that we're trying to get the funding for, collaborate this first draft. So all of that goes through Process Builder, which he loves, and he also likes when a new gift is submitted, also via Process Builder. Well, it doesn't come in via Process Builder, but this is done through Process Builder. based on the gift type, it automatically creates the right acknowledgement letter. And someone just has to go in and print it, which is pretty cool. He loves opportunity history reports, being able to see when things are changed. And we do a really big board book, which is, I think, kind of personally outdated, where they send all of the donation giving funding information in a big book out to all of our board people, and we did that all through Conga this year. Mary, she likes the acknowledgements and, again, more Conga stuff. She loves exact target and being able to kind of reach out to different donors based on their giving history. Are they last year, but unfortunately not this year? Did they give in December? Did they, all that kind of stuff. She really likes Chatter and being able to reach out to different members of the development team with Chatter. And she likes to be able to see with a joint report, because we use campaigns to show all of our email stuff as well as where the money is actually going to, so she can see what emails we've sent somebody and what donations they've made because of it, maybe. So one more person, I'm sorry if I'm running over. This is Erin. Erin works in our Illinois policy team. They're responsible for dealing with those Illinois state legislators. She does all of our grassroots kind of advocacy stuff, calls to engagement. She does all that kind of fun politician stuff. So she was also using Sphere for all of her email event needs. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but we implemented CQRC, which is another great product. It allows us to not only create our engagements, but when somebody takes them, we get more detailed demographic information about them, primarily like what's their ledge district and stuff like that for federal and state levels. So she just likes, we can see all of our funding streams for the organizations that we work with and the teachers that we work with based on like legislative data. And so when she goes up and she calls a senator, she can say, "Hi, Mr. Durbin, you're in Illinois 69. I'm not really sure what he's in, but here are all the schools that are affected by your budget cuts this year. These are teachers. These are the programs they've been working on. And because we do documented outreach to those same schools with those same teachers, we can say these are the programs they've worked on. This is what they worked on Tuesday in their schools." So she really likes that. We do email to case functionality for them. Task and activity tracking has been really big. We're moving away from email and trying to get everything into Salesforce, and it's been pretty successful so far. Step 3 is be the best facilitator you can be. So this is about lesson planning for your training. So I always give my lessons a title. I always define my objective. So if somebody comes into my training, they know what they are going to learn at the end of it and walk away knowing. I do guided activities with my end users. So that starts with me giving a demo, us doing it together, and then actually giving them examples to do themselves. This is one example that I did with our development team. In case you didn't notice, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, so this is a multi-stepped example, right? Because a lot of times with our end users, we can say, this is how you update a contact, or this is how you create a gift, but to take them out of that, I'm creating a gift, to actually move to a real-life example of someone's called up, this is what they've wanted, this is how much they've given, this is what we know about them. This kind of thing where I started with like, hey, someone's called, do we have to change their contact and account information? Oh, they want to make a donation, what kind of donation is it? Is it a pledge, are we getting money? How do we record that money? Is it a check? Do we have to run it through PayPal? What's the campaign source and what's the best entry method, that kind of stuff. And here's the actual example. The other thing is I am a solo admin, so I make a lot of our like change agents do my training for me because there just isn't the bandwidth. We have an organization of 500 people, so to kind of really do the management you want, you don't. So I do pre-recorded webinars once a month. The topics vary. I rotate them on like 5, creating a contacts, using Salesforce in general, and they always match up with a set of guided activities and Trailhead that I send out after the webinar. We do communities of practice. So what's the best way to use tasks and activities at our organization? That way, end users feel like they're making their decisions and they don't think that I'm telling them how to do it. I do office hours every Tuesday and Thursday for 2 hours, so people can come in and ask whatever questions they want. The rule, though, is that unless it's a project, they don't get time after that. Try to enforce that. And Trailhead is really great, and I do that with my end users as well as any sort of like interns and stuff we have. The fourth part is just being an overbearing Salesforce lady. So I can be a part of the mission at my organization because I was a teacher and I really do believe in the cause that we do. But even if I wasn't, I would still be an overbearing, annoying Salesforce lady who is like, drink my Kool-Aid, drink it now. So I use chatter as a form of guerrilla marketing. I literally am chattering at people. I saw this article, I think you'd like it. It's about Salesforce and development, or Salesforce and lobbyists, or Salesforce and teachers. And I put weird posters in bathroom stalls, and I have an intern who goes in and puts them in the boys' bathroom for me. And I put them in the coffee break room, and I talk to people in the elevator about it. And I'm annoying, and I know it. I'm approachable. I'll always ask people. I smile at everyone. I want to be one of those people that they feel like they can come to instead of that person who sits back in the IT room. I love when people tell me their crazy dreams and hopes. I often say no, not right now, but let's talk about it in 6 months. Because if people are scared to ask for features or for something that would help them, we'll never know, and we'll get stuck in this kind of like, there's no reason to adapt more if we're not getting the things that people want. I volunteer at all of our annual luncheons. I volunteer at our school, and I know that's not realistic for everybody, but I try to be a part of the mission as much as possible outside of just being in IT. I am known as the Salesforce lady, which is why I keep saying it. Their HR department didn't know my name for like 2 or 3 months, and in meetings were referring to me as the ginger Salesforce lady. So that's me. I think I'm a little younger than that, but that's okay. I try to understand the big picture of our organization. So instead of just seeing what the people I'm interacting with do, I'm trying to get an idea of where we're going. And I have a really supportive head of information technology who wants to include her people as part of that, and that's really helpful. But trying to know where we're going as an organization, knowing what kind of donations we take, that's, I think, one of the most helpful things instead of focusing myself in my corner and making fields and stuff. I work top to bottom on who I try to get. Your change agents aren't always a senior manager. An example is our CEO, her assistant. I got her on the Salesforce train in like 3 days, and now she's speaking about it to her manager instead of having to start, with me just driving it all the time. And I think some of our biggest change agents aren't senior managers. They're not people at the bottom. They're those kind of mid-level managers who see how they're interacting it with. They're enough involved that they're interacting with Salesforce on a daily basis without spending all their time in it and hating it, or without actually getting in there. So pretty much a lot of those people that I talked about are that kind of mid-level. Again, finding my early adopters, I work them, I bring them cookies, I smile at them and ask them how their weekend went, and then I ask them what their problems are and I solve them. And then the last thing is I always say yes, but I have to remember to be a person. I say yes, not right now, or yes, there's a better way, or yes, we can do that, let's talk to somebody else. I never flat out say no, which is hard. But thank you for coming to my presentation. I was really nervous, if you couldn't tell. Does anyone have any questions about the ounce and the Salesforce work we do now, or about anything? Yeah.
I was cheering. I think you saw me back here cheering. My team's right here, but I'm powering up right now, so I'm not with them. So I was cheering. Great work, great job. Such a tremendous overview. I love it. Do you have any case studies about how that first grid that you had that showed your marketing cloud and your different, have you done any case studies on that, just how you're using these different products?
Not like a formally. Could you maybe tell me a little bit more about what you mean about case studies?
So this is just terrific, and we're on this path.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of a beautiful integrated solution that covers so many aspects. And of course, there's a path to that involves funding and support, resources and adoption and so forth. And so you've pretty much already done all of that in a beautiful way. So I'm just wondering if there are any products that you have, work products that you can share about that in terms of.
Yeah, so this has been a 3-year process. We didn't start this way. We started with NGO Connect, which started as a place for us to do our donations and our events and our biographical information. We've since moved from events to CVent, but that's where we started. After doing NGO Connect and trying to get some of our data in, we started with Exact Target. I think Exact Target has been the biggest seller for us. Is you can email everybody and you can run reports on it and you don't have to upload a list into something anymore. So that's, the marketing is like the number one way I've gotten people on board. Is like, if you use this product, then you can use Exact Target and Social Cloud or Social Studio. So those were the two that started. Cornerstone on Demand was the next one. That's they have a Salesforce integration kind of. Ours is custom built. That's a product that we actually sell to home visitors and doulas. So that kind of came next. And basically the information we're pushing over from that is just contact information. We're keeping it at the lowest denominator. But then everything else has been kind of an add-on. I would say that we did a 1.5 years of just NGO Connect and Exact Target before we started adding smaller products. Does that help kind of?
Absolutely. Would you be willing to share your slides?
Yeah, I'm going to put them on my LinkedIn profile, and I can go up here so you can grab it. You can just search for me. Any other questions? Yeah.
I might have missed this, but if you could give maybe a 2-3 minute blurb on the ounce of prevention, what the org is like, what it's about, where you're headed.
Okay. So the Ounce of Prevention Fund is an organization that does early childhood education things. So that falls under a couple different categories. We run a set of charter schools with the Buffett Foundation called the Educare Learning Network. And that kind of functions as its own organization under the umbrella of the Ounce of Prevention Fund. We also have a group based out of Washington, D.C. called the First 5 Years Fund, and there are lobbyists nationally for Congress and stuff like that. They run a lot of summits and stuff like that. In the Ounce of Prevention, the Illinois section, we have a division that does doula training, so pre-birth to 3 years old. And they go and they do, the birth thing. And then they also, they follow the families and they do home training and stuff like that. And then a lot of times we try to get those families in our Educare Chicago or Educare West DuPage school.
You're based out of Chicago?
Yeah, I'm based out of Chicago, yeah. We have the online webinar stuff that's kind of also home visitors and training. We work with PAT, which is Parents as Teachers. So we go in. So a lot of times we're not really working with kids. We work with teachers and parents and families. We, as an organization, have always been under this umbrella, but we're really working towards understanding our constituent base as one group, as opposed to very different kind of offshoots, because what we do with a kid who there's a family we're the doula for, we want to see what happens to them when they're in the workforce, or do they donate to us and stuff like that. As an organization, we're struggling right now. I don't know if anybody's from Illinois, but the budget we've had to have a budget in a year. So I would say the majority of our programs are cut. That's really what we're focusing on right now, is keeping the organization going without money. So once we're past that, we're really working towards national scaling. So this database is the basis for moving our home visiting and our doula training around the nation. And we actually have 2 teams. I'm really excited that technical assistance form I just showed you was from our LLE group. They just received funding to do national scaling, so that was based in Illinois, and some other divisions like that. In terms of how we do fundraising, we're mostly major donors. There's a push by our marketing to kind of get that smaller constituent base where people who are donating $15 once a year or $100, there's a lot of clash between our development team and our marketing about that. We're not quite there yet.
So, I just sent you a LinkedIn request, but, we also use CVET, and we actually stopped paying for the Salesforce integration.
Okay.
Because of the fact that it would only talk to campaigns.
Yeah.
Is that what you guys are just using it for campaigns and using campaigns for events, or what are you using?
That's our plan right now. This was an emergency implementation because NGO Connect couldn't meet the needs of our events. And I, on Christmas, was crying in my bathroom trying to figure out what we were going to do because we're hosting a big visiting summit with the Pew Foundation in July. So right now we're just doing campaigns and opportunities for like our gala stuff through Zevent. We're going to, in the next couple months, engage with the developers to do a custom build out.
We're headed that direction too. It's
Yeah.
expensive.
Yes.
You have a lot of in-house tools, it sounds like, the Conga and that Target. One place, though, as far as just as a resource, you may have heard of ActBlue. ActBlue is a big platform to run fundraising. There's lots of tools that are free and ways to get information out from pitch books to fundraising e-forms and all of that. And they're very, very low cost.
Okay,
I know Bernie Sanders and Bernie.
I was gonna say I've donated a couple things through ActBlue, but I'll definitely check it out.
On the user side is really powerful.
I'll have to.
Streamlined UI.
There are some weird rules about what makes something a 501c3, and because we do a lot of lobbying, we have to be careful about the products we use in terms of donations, but I'll definitely pass that along to marketing and take a look at it.
Fundraising, even if you're just doing informational, what was the moderation?
I wish I... And they integrate with Salesforce, or?
That I don't know. I don't think they do. But just in terms of the scale, even resource tools of creating content are powerful.
Okay, cool. We're always looking for, as you can tell, we're always looking for new things, so.
Exactly. It's just about being very resourceful. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions or suggestions? Nope. Cool, thank you very much. Find me on LinkedIn so we can be friends. Thank you.